Hello and welcome to the Blitz Business Development Show. My name is Mayo and I'm a business consultant and coach as well as the founder of the Blitz Business Development Academy. This is the show that provides guidance, resources, and access to best practices to help you advertise, manage, and build geometric profits. From freelancers and home-based business owners to startups and storefronts, you will learn how to start small as you think and grow big. Hello, folks, and welcome to the Blitz Business Development Show. Hey, listen, in the advent of the pandemic, we have all been having to work at home, at least most of us, right? And at the end of the day, you can kind of get used to it, and maybe it works for you and maybe it doesn't. But some of you have decided to stay home and start working from home. Now, what you're going to find if you're new to working from home is that one of the most difficult things to do is to be able to do things for a long period of time in the same room. Well, if you've got that challenge, if you have an issue to where you're just not really organized, you don't really work efficiently, and things are all over the place, this is certainly the episode for you, because today's show is about how to optimize and create the ultimate room or workspace. Okay, so with that said, we're going to have a special guest here who does just that. But she's not just any type of, like, say, organizer. What she actually does, she has this three-dimensional approach as to how you can basically optimize any workspace to its full potential based off of the outcome that you would like to feel. And get this, she even actually creates artwork, okay, based off of what you want to feel after you go through the process of decluttering and, you know, figuring out what colors. It's like this whole really cool concept that she has that I think is a game changer that hardly anyone is doing. So we're going to meet somebody that's absolutely phenomenal at doing this. In just a moment, you're going to meet Gina Marie. As a holistic design consultant, Gina's focus is to bring peace and wholeness back into one's life by clarifying it through a mind-body space cleanse. She's done a variety of projects, all to do with one's home environment, from a mural of a sunset off the coast of Maui to a completed renovation of a residential home. Gina has a bachelor's degree in interior design. She's certified in Feng Shui and Green trained with the American Society of Interior Designers. She also has a master's in fine arts with the Olson Studios. Ladies and gentlemen, Gina Marie. So awesome. So Gina, where are you originally from?
So I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Massachusetts.
Okay.
Been out in Vancouver, Washington for about 10 years now.
Okay. Now, I want to know a little bit more about your upbringing. Now, what was it like growing up in Massachusetts?
It was awesome. Being out here, though, on the West Coast, I would say, well, and my husband would say, you know, over there, it's like being in little anthills, you know, compared to over here, you know, I've got the huge mountains. Everything is more grandiose. And there, you know, everything is comfortable. But no, it was an awesome upbringing, and I love nature. And so I always got to play outside and, you know, and it's just not like it used to be. I was always playing with worms or playing with chalk or playing, you know, outdoors in the grass and the land and stuff. And it's, I don't know, nowadays it's not like that anymore, but enjoyed my upbringing very much.
Are you still kind of an outdoorsy type of person now? Do you still kind of like to do those types of things?
I love kayaking and hiking. Yeah. So This is why I guess the West Coast suits me at this point.
Okay. Now, I'm curious about that because I spent some time on the East Coast as well. I'm sorry, I spent some time on the West Coast. I'm from the East and actually returned back to the East. I used to live in Los Angeles for probably about 8 or 9 years or something like that. And I found it to be very different, for lack of a better term. It's very different coming from the East to the West. And I'm just curious, artistically, do you find that there is a little bit of a difference in, I would say, our artistic approach from maybe the artists that you may have grown up with or maybe known from the East to the West?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference. I feel
Mm.
like this country is like cut in half, and just there's even different language. People say different terminology, and you're like, where did that come from? And yeah, so I definitely noticed that. But even being out on the West Coast, like I said, I think things are more grandiose, and I just love it. And a lot of my art comes from, nature. And
Mm.
I think one day I saw the moon and the sun at the same time. I was like, that is so cool. And growing up, I'm like, I never saw that. So being here, I was like, are we closer to the sun? What is going on the West Coast? Things are just brighter and just more, like I said, more grandiose, more rainbows, and just so anyway, it's more spiritual. Yeah, and actually that's what brought me to Portland. I mean, I live in Vancouver, Washington, but I heard about, Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon's very spiritual, very liberal, and that's more my style. So, and very artsy, so very new age, and that's what said, oh yeah, I'm going to check it out. So that's what brought me out here, because again, it's like I love these coats, but yes, they can be they're very different. So I say that, with my art, I bring in like my East Coast architecture, because
Okay.
the architecture here on the West Coast to me is kind of, I don't know, cookie cutter, very blah. So there's more authentic, detail in the property on the East Coast, just because it's old. Yeah, there's just more history. It's just older.
Mm.
You just get, more style over there than what I've noticed over here. But so I put together, I say, the architecture from the East Coast and the nature from the West Coast. I combine the two, and then I have my work. Yeah, I find out my artwork comes through that, and my Feng Shui comes through that, and yeah, so it's helpful to have both backgrounds, or both interests, and both, to
Okay.
kind of balance it.
So as a child, at what point, or was it even as a child? I'm just curious. At what point did you decide that you wanted to go into, now was it art first or interior design?
So yeah, thank you, Mayo, for that question. I grew up on the East Coast, but there was like a lot of poor insulation in my home. And so that's what led me to get into interior design, because I learned through research later on about like sick building syndrome. People can get sick from toxicities in their home, and,
Interesting.
synthetic materials and stuff people don't even realize, right? I mean, there's been so much construction with all these homes that just go up, like I said, cookie cutter homes that just, and people buy them and just suck them up, and they don't even know what they're really getting into.
Right.
So it to me, it's like you should really investigate and figure out. And I'm all about designing my own home and getting it green and sustainable, for the earth, but for your health, so that's
Right.
most important. So so to answer your question, it was interior design, I think, that fascinated me first. And then I said, but I love art. I've always loved art. And I was like, okay, let's see. I'm going to just, be an artist on the side. So, when I was younger, because I've been doing art since I was a child. But, interior design was a little more practical, when I was a child. But now, I'm able to encompass both together nicely. So with my Feng Shui and the interior design and the art all at one.
I mean, I know that a lot of times they say that, they use form and function, but it sounds like almost you started with function because of the insulation. And is that what really, would you say that that's where everything started?
Yeah, it drove me to want to study interior design when growing up. I think because I got certain allergies, from the poor insulation, in the home. Right. So it was, I think on the east side of the house, there were too many trees blocking the structure of the house. So there wasn't able to get enough light through, and there wasn't able, it could never dry out, I mean, I definitely, like I said, I developed the allergies because of all that poor insulation.
Did anyone else in your home get sick as well? Or was it just mainly you?
Yeah, it was just mainly me. It's actually my bedroom was on that far east corner, and so that's where the worst part of it, I guess, was. Because nobody else that I know of really developed anything. Because my brother was more on the interior part of the house, so it's like he never got affected, and my parents were too. Ironically enough, it's like, and again, they didn't know, and that's why it's like I want to educate people on knowing and what to look for, with mold and asbestos and everything like that. We have to be careful with. Yeah,
and to your point, actually, you're absolutely right. A lot of the homes on the East Coast, and I found this out a couple years back, it caused me to actually start looking at the envelope of the home as it relates to the insulation, because I noticed that my parents had the most, they had the highest electric bill on the street. And so I'm like, what's going on with that? So when I dug into it, and at the time they were actually renting the home that they were in. And what I found out was that, first of all, the home was built like in about 1933 or so. So of course, the different types of insulation standards have changed dramatically from then. But unless you had new windows, unless you had, at least new windows, at the very least new windows, you were losing so much heat. On top of that, they had a very, very old furnace. So all these things were just causing a lot of problems in terms of their bills. Not so much their health, but as much as in their case it was their bills. But yeah, that is the only thing about some of the houses from the East Coast that I noticed, is that some of them are so old that they're not caught up to date in a lot of cases in the envelope. But with that said, I wanted to go to, because I find this very interesting. So you started off with the insulation of the home because of the health problems. And from there, you somehow pivoted into going deeper with interior design. Now, what point did you decide that you wanted to turn that into a career?
Right, so when I studied, because I have a bachelor's in interior design, and as I was studying, I felt like there was something, I don't know, missing within what I was studying. So I was like, I want to really help people and educate people, and it's not just about the product, but it's like about the quality. So then when I found Feng Shui, I was like, okay, this is an ancient art. So I was like, okay, let's go that direction and give people more of an education on how and where to put their energy and how to use it better. So I'm sorry, did I answer your question?
I mean, I believe you did. So it sounds like it was more of an evolutionary type of a process that led you into Feng Shui from interior design. Now, but I think the question was at what point did you decide to turn
make it a career?
Into a career?
Right. Well, I guess, but since I was a kid, I really knew I wanted to do interior design. I mean, not a lot of people know that when you're like 10 or 15. Like, I was like really adamant about, I just love, like, I was like that freaky kid that just loved organizing her room. Like,
really?
Yeah, as like a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old. Like, I always kept it really clean and organized. Who knows? Because maybe I take after, my mother in that respect, and she was always having a clean house or whatever. So, but anyway, I just always liked that. So I was attracted to that, and just, so it was an evolution of figuring out what's going to work for me and my beliefs, and how I can educate people on what value I can give them,
Okay.
So yeah, I would say probably when I was 25, roughly.
Okay.
So right out of college, I was like, yeah, what if I can make this a career? How wonderful. So yeah, as things evolved, I got more into the art too, because I figured, okay, that's a whole package, for people. I can help you in your home. You can declutter your space, give you a fresh new look. And then how about personalized artwork? What a great combination, what a great package for everyone.
And I'm definitely going to get into that too, because I do have some questions about that. But I'm curious now, what school did you actually go to?
I went to Newbury College first for my undergraduate. That was interior design. And then I kept going on and I got actually a certificate in residential design specifically. And then I was like, I'm going to finish out because actually I first studied fashion merchandising because when you're in high school, you're not really, you go to those, the events to try to figure out what your major is going to be. And they don't really advise you, you don't know. Because so at first, like I say, when I was a kid, I just loved organizing, placing things in the right order or whatever. And that happened to be fashion merchandising was the closest, but it wasn't, I was never interested in the fashion. I was more interested in the design. And anyway, and that's why I was like, okay, let me get into interior design. That's the direction I want to go. And so, but I'm a Sagittarius, so it's like I love learning and just trying everything. So it's like, in the beginning, I just wanted to try to make everything a whole, I would say. So, so I have my bachelor's in interior design and sorry, I know I go off on tangents.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. You've answered the question so far. I was asking what school you had gone to.
I went to Newbury College and then I went to the Art Institute. Thank you.
Oh, you went to Art Institute. Okay.
Yeah, the New England Art Institute in Boston.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, actually, I like Art Institute. I've visited. I've never actually went there, but I've visited a couple of times back in the day, and they had a really good program from what I could see.
Both of them, they're all throughout the country. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm a little curious, and we're about to get into some deeper questions in terms of your approach. But before I do that, I wanted to know a little bit about your training with Eddie Olson in the Eddie Olson studio. And what I found interesting was the 10,000 blessings. And what does that mean? What is that about?
Right. That was some training I've done with Feng Shui. And then her company just means 10,000 blessings. Just there's many blessings that she endeavors with Feng Shui. I learned with her, but I feel like I take more of a modern approach with Feng Shui, and I really want to focus more on the green sustainable products and just educating people on how to make a more sustainable lifestyle within the products they use. So it's really important to me is to like reduce, reuse, and restore. So reducing, like decluttering, and reusing your furniture, maybe going to antique stores and just reusing what you already have. So basically I'm giving you a good value and, making it affordable for people to work with me. Restoring your whole self. I call it like, I'm a holistic design consultant, I would say. And so I can give you kind of like a mind, body, space cleanse. Right.
Now, I'm a little curious. Now, is there a correlation between, I've got to figure out how to ask this question.
Sure.
Is there a correlation between the function of the home as it relates to, let's just say, the materials being used to insulate the home or to even create the home? Is there a correlation between that and any of the principles of Feng Shui?
Well, yes. So, Feng Shui is an ancient art and it's all about the energy we utilize within our space. So, the elements like fire, water, earth, metal, wood. Yeah. So I would say, again, it's like decluttering your space, decluttering your mind, working on that, getting rid of like the fluorides and the benzene and the different synthetic materials. And that's getting rid of all of that is part of the whole process of Feng Shui, because your energy is going to be lacking, if your space is toxic, basically. So I would say I'm doing it more of a modern approach. So maybe someone else with Feng Shui might not say that, but I'm kind of combining the two to give you a whole body, mind, space experience.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's a completely different approach. Like, I feel like nobody's done this, and there's not a lot of design firms that really focus on green sustainable, products. There might be like, I don't know, the big commercial ones, but there's not a lot that will help you individually in your residential home. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm on my own, like have my own business, because I was looking like in the beginning, after high school, college, looking for a job, and it's like I couldn't find a job. So I was like, I guess I'm going to have to create my own concept so people again can be educated and understand a better way of living.
Right. Yeah. And just for our audience members that may not exactly know what Feng Shui is, I don't want to make any assumptions. Can you explain really briefly as to just what Feng Shui actually is?
Right. So Feng Shui actually means wind water, and it's an ancient Chinese art that goes back like 700 BC. Like, it's just completely ancient. I happen to use the Bagua map, and so it's just this square map, and it actually points out different areas within your space to give you like better wealth. So, because back when, like the caveman days, they would be hunting, and then they would have to put their wealth, and they put it in the far north corner of like your home. So because again, you don't know when you're going to get your wealth or something, so you're basically hiding it. So that's why there's certain areas in your home you should have things facing, or have things, so like again, like family is like in the center, and then and then love is on like the north, maybe like the south side. So so everything has to be kind of encompassing. Okay.
So let me ask you this: and this, we're going to shift a little bit to talking a little bit about your artwork, because I've seen your artwork. Your artwork is amazing. I'm actually a fan, definitely, of the abstract work that I've seen you do. I really like some of the paintings in your gallery in that area. That's just because I like abstract, but awesome. Some really cool stuff. And what I'm curious of is, what artist, if any, do you feel inspires you most when it comes to your artwork?
I would say Monet. I just love his water lilies. It's funny because he's more impressionist. I would say I'm more realistic, but I kind of bounce between impressionist to realism. But I also, I don't know, I just love abstract too. It's like, again, I guess with my interior design and my art, and it's like I'm molding the two together, like the form and the function, but the spirituality and so that's what I say in my website, how I'm just, the whimsical lines with structure, and trying to just really combine the two together, and that's what you can get. But so Monet and Monet, actually, I really get inspired by them. I guess they're landscapes, because mostly I started doing landscapes. And actually, I read, I don't know why I'm fascinated with gorillas, but I'm just really fascinated with endangered wildlife. Like, again, I think it incorporates my green sustainable, like just being and protecting the earth. Right. And utilizing what we have on Earth, rather than, we're such a consumer, economy, and we're always buying. And it's like, I want to utilize, what we already have type thing. So care for the earth. So that encompasses the wildlife. So anyway, it was funny because I was just reading Jane Goodall's bio, and it was like 900 pages or something. And I got through that, and I was like, oh my God, I'm inspired to, paint some endangered wildlife. So I have a whole series of endangered wildlife that I've painted right after I was just touched by, what she has done for 40 years of her research and how we're so connected, with the gorillas and stuff. So but I think just wildlife, because they're just so vulnerable, and I just want to give give a voice to them. And so now what I've started to do is do more like abstract wildlife. There's 2 new ones that I just finished. One's called A Loving Bond, and another one, I have an elephant that you can see on my website. But they're just like really bold colors, so they're more like the realism and the abstract together.
I've seen the elephant.
Yeah,
I've seen the elephants. Nice. So let me ask you this. So what would you say best classifies your style?
Best classifies my style. Well, I would say realism, and that's so hard because it's like, again, I'm just combining realism with abstract, and it's just really hard to pinpoint one. But I mean, it's like, because I want to give people what they need, so that's why I love just connecting with people individually, and whatever they need, I just kind of want to mold and work with them, if that makes sense.
I can tell you my take on it. My take is your style really seems kind of sort of 3-dimensional in your approach. And what I mean by that is pretty much what you've just said. I see you trying to fuse different elements from spirituality, like you said.
Right.
And I definitely see hints of minimalism. And then, of course, even in the abstract, and it's funny because some abstract is really abstract, but then there's some folks who actually do abstract in a structured way, which is what I sometimes like myself. It's weird, maybe because I'm a little weird in what I like, but that's what I see from your work, is that there's a combination of different elements of different things that I see you trying to convey through some of the paintings. And what I like about a lot of the work is a lot of it's no matter what you're painting, it's still simplistic to a degree.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There's one that's called The Geometric Dance, which I actually is very abstract, but I actually use like a measuring tape, and calculated everything out.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun. I paint lots of blues and greens. I was kind of go through my collection, and I'm just like, wow, I paint lots of blues and greens. But that, for me, those are calming, colors. And because I've studied color theory, and it's like, I can't do the reds and the oranges, like for me personally, because it's like, I understand that's just wild, and it's energetic or whatever. I'm already energetic, wild, so I need the calming. So that's why I'm attracted to those blues and those greens. So I tend to go that direction. But the one that's a geometric dance, I was like, I've noticed people, are calling for the brighter colors. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try that. And this and this painting is just like all orange, but then it's got, some reds and reds and yellows and stuff in it. But yeah, like I said, I used a protractor and a measuring tape and everything. And it's cool. It's cool because it was kind of like an atom. I think I was thinking at the time, and so it's like this round shape in the center, but then sort of like kind of like it's like energy just bouncing off structure.
I think I know the one you're talking about. I think I know which one you're talking about, because I just had it up a little earlier today, and those were actually a couple of the ones that I actually like myself, and those were abstracts, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And that's why it's funny you say that, because that's what I kind of somehow I get the sort of ordered chaos.
That's a great way of putting it.
Right. There's like order in the chaos. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I get exactly what you're saying there. So here's my other question. Now, I think the concept of combining both art with interior design, and especially with the Feng Shui, which is why I keep saying I feel like there's a sort of a 3-dimensional approach. It's an interesting concept. It's an interesting way even to possibly approach, and this is a question for you, when you're painting or you're doing an interior design project, let me put it like that.
Right.
And someone has some type of preference for their artwork. how does that work? I'm just curious. Like, how do you go about, what's the process of how you go about deciding for a client, what you're going to give them in terms of a painting, how you're going to design their room or their home? How do you approach that? Do you have a framework or methodology that you follow for each client, or is it work some other type of way?
Well, sure. But I mean, the biggest thing is I have to get to know each individual client. So I just have to do my research. So it's really that, I mean, I'm so sorry. That's a hard question to answer just because it's about that individual person. And so once I can know and learn about that individual person, then I could basically do my research and then I come back to them, you know, and give them what they need, you know, because, and so with Feng Shui, I mean, it can solve so many concerns in someone's life. I mean, with their career or with their relationship or with their health, you know, so if someone is suffering with their health or someone says, I just can't get the boyfriend or girlfriend that I really want, you know, I could use those methods of Feng Shui to kind of assist and help them, because a lot of what's going on is probably within your space. You know, your home is your sanctuary. So if you're not happy within your space, and some people don't even realize it, you know, so it's like, I just got to get into that home and then I can tell you, wow, you got too many fire elements in the, you know, one place, or too much metal in one place. You know, I know metal, actually, the more metal you have, the more detailed you can be. So it's like if you work in an office kind of environment, so maybe you need more metal. But, you know, let's say if you're an artist, maybe you don't need as much metal as you have. You know, so it's really about getting into that space to then help them, assist them in what they want. It's interesting. I did a commission painting for someone, these abstract manatees, and it was fascinating because I told her, I was like, yeah, don't put that in your bedroom, you know, because there's going to be a lot of energy, because it's like this water, there are manatees in the ocean, so there was a lot of movement there, right? And she said she had a hard time sleeping. And because I was like, yeah, don't put that there, you know, it's not going to work for you. And sure enough, it's like she actually put it there, you know, in her bedroom or whatever. And she told me, she's like, yeah, I was having a hard time. She's like, I had to move that. And I was like, yeah, like you need to have that in like a living room space or something like that, because that's just too much. Like, for example, your water element is, again, movement. So you wouldn't have that in a sleeping environment. You know, so again, people don't realize it. Yeah, they don't realize it when you're just putting some painting up. You just think, oh, pretty colors or whatever. But if you do the research behind it, you're like, oh, okay, that's why, you know, I'm possibly not sleeping well or what, you know, but there's so many, of course, there's just so many elements to why maybe you're not sleeping well. So
that brings me to this question. Now, I was going to ask you this a little bit later, but now I'm going to ask you now, because we kind of progressed into this. So does the space influence your artistic direction, or does the person that owns the space determine what you do? And let me make sure I'm asking this right, because, like, for instance, right, if I said to you, okay, hey, Gina, I want to be able to relax in this room, right? So based off of what you said, there seems to be certain things as it relates, if for no other reason than just Feng Shui, there's certain things that are kind of finite. Like, it's not about what I want, it's the energy that it's going to bring. And if I might, let's for instance, you know, I might like the color yellow, but the yellow might be counterintuitive to the actual feeling that I want to feel in the room, sounds like. I mean, as an example. So what I'm trying to understand is, when you're working with a client, does the outcome that they want influence what you do and what you put into the room, or what type of artwork you'll create for that space? Or do you just give them what they want?
Well, again, it's like interviewing them, you know, and figuring out what they need. So, and the funny thing is, they, again, might not know what they need. So that's why I have to then really delve deep in their whole psyche and figure it out. And that's the whole decluttering, man, it's in the brain. because we're trying to figure out why you're holding on to things, what is going on, why we have what we have. So that's just the beginning, stages. And then once we can get through that, then I can just be like, and like, again, I said, so the art should be the last element. Sometimes people just want art, and that's fine too.
Right.
But for a whole body experience, I would say, let's declutter first and declutter the mind. It's really about that. And then physically. So it's a physical, emotional, spiritual cleanse, basically. Right. And at the end, once we can clear all that out, then we can figure out what's going to work on your walls. But, it's interesting. Color theory is fascinating. It's just absolutely fascinating. Do you know why the M McDonald's is yellow? I mean, we're attracted to these bright colors, and we go to it and we don't even know why. We're just like, we're just drawn to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that. That reminds me of something I learned one time that McDonald's changed. I found out that they would go for, I think it was red. It used to be really red. The older McDonald's used to have a lot of red in the inside.
Right.
And not only was... Well, but the funny thing was, it would be red in the inside, and the seats were extremely uncomfortable, and you couldn't sit there longer than 15 minutes. And what I realized was, okay, this is on purpose. They're doing this to get me out of here so I don't stay too long. Then what's funny is, as the years have progressed, I've noticed McDonald's now, they use a lot more earth tones. It's a lot more inviting. But at the same time, even though their furniture looks more comfortable, it's still uncomfortable. It seems as though they're still trying to get you out of there, but not in much as an overt way as they used to do it. Which really got me to thinking, like, wow, there's a lot of science that goes into just the way a restaurant, especially a restaurant like McDonald's, is designed. So many things we can't see that's happening right beneath the surface.
So much. And you think about hospitals, why they paint all the walls blue is calming. You want to be calm when you go in, right? Because you're kind of like, oh my God, what's happening to me? Am I dying? Like, oh, so calming, or ocean colors, or just like the sea, or just, it's all dreamy. And I also learned why they don't have windows in grocery stores. It keeps you focused on the inside, and it just keeps you buying. Yeah. So
that's right.
There's so much behind all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Interesting. You just don't think about it.
Well, it's funny, all that goes into, people's buying behavior, but it's interesting. We don't really invest into our homes. We don't invest into our workspaces the same way. Which brings me to the last question of this section that I wanted to ask you about. So hypothetically speaking, and you can take your time with answering this question, because the topic of this show is going to be how to create the ultimate workspace. If you were dealing with a client, because I want the audience to get a feel for what their experience would be like to work with you. Okay. So if you're working with a client's a business owner, the client's always kind of stressed out, and they've got this one room to do all of their business in, and they say to Gina, I just want to be able to feel focused and relaxed at the same time. Okay. What would it look like for a client to have a session with you, with that being the context?
Well, when it comes to your ultimate workspace, for an example with Feng Shui, what I would tell them is, first of all, where is your desk positioned, and make sure your desk is in the power position. So sometimes a desk could be against the wall, or sometimes, let's say, the desk, you're walking in and you're facing backwards, like you don't see. So the energy is wrong. Let's say if your desk is facing a window, and then someone's coming in and you don't see them right away. You're supposed to, that's the whole concept. You're supposed to see them right away. So you're in the power position.
Okay.
So, I mean, that is just the first example or start to an ultimate workspace, really, to keep that focus. Because again, like, let's say your desk is facing a window, then, oh my gosh, you're just looking out the window and just dreaming, right? You're not able to focus. Yeah,
Right.
you know, oh, I
Right.
see a bird, tweet, 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 and then it splats on the window. No,
Right.
no, but yeah, so you really want it. That's just the first example. You'd want it to be facing your door and to see who's coming in. Because again, it's like that energy. You're always like uptight if you don't have your desk in the right position, and you don't even realize it. You're kind of like you're going along working, but it's like, what's behind me? What's behind me? And I think that's just the ancient art of what it was, thousands of years ago. It's like, and so it really encompasses in modern times, so in those ways. So yeah, but also decluttering. I mean, I did an office for a couple while ago that, gosh, their desk was just cluttered with stuff, right? And their walls were the wrong color and everything. So I think we had to we cleared out their desk first. I gave them the right color. And also I was going to mention, you want to make sure low VOCs in your paints. So that's something to really be watching
VOC?
for.
What's a
Right.
VOC?
It's just basically voluntary compound. So just making sure you have low toxic paints.
Okay.
So there are places to go like Benjamin Moore and Sherwin Williams, and they do low toxic VOCs in paints.
Okay.
So nowadays, because it's funny because when we started talking about houses, I was going to mention in the 70s, they used the lead paint.
Right.
That was terrible, and that led to health issues for people, and if they've been in that environment for many, many years. But anyway, so again, decluttering your space, positioning your desk, having the right color on the walls, all of that makes for a great ultimate workspace.
Okay.
And that's just an example. I mean, I'd have to go into detail with that individual person depending on what the situation is.
Right.
What they feel like they're not, getting the most out of when it comes to their career.
Now, you may have just answered this next question, but if anything else comes to mind, I'll just let you just kind of build on it. If not, don't worry about it. We'll just go to another question. But I was going to ask you next, what are 3 powerful things that my listeners can do tomorrow to create peace and tranquility in their workspace?
So maybe I answered that. 3 powerful things.
You have already answered it in a different way. And I guess the reason why I said like this, because if their goal is peace and tranquility, if there's certain things that for a fact, like you mentioned, the clutter.
Oh, okay. So let's just keep it simple. And so then, they could do it themselves, for example. So that I would say, like I said earlier, so start decluttering your space, start either organizing it or, decluttering it. I mean, there's organizing it gives you a sense of control, but decluttering it, actually getting rid of certain things, gives you a sense of freedom, so it all depends, do you need more control or do you need more, freedom in your life? But again, to keep it simple, they could go by just the reducing, reusing, and restoring.
Right.
So maybe, just that if they can think in those terms to get rid of what they don't need or that's lacking significance in their life. But also, so reusing. So once they kind of clear out what they don't need, reusing their furniture, for example, you could simply reupholster something or sand a chair down and lacquer it or whatever. So you can reuse that. And then restoring yourself would be, again, getting rid of all toxicities in your home. So that could be cleaning products. That could be any synthetic materials. Also plants. Plants are so important to have in your home. So I would say that helps for more oxygen flowing throughout your space. And again, we don't even think about that. And for me, it's I'm totally inspired with my art just when I go on like I said, a hike earlier in our conversation. That nature is just, it's the oxygen, you know, you need it to carry on and get your energy back. So, so definitely, yeah, reducing, reusing, and restoring. I would say those are just the ultimate things to think about, to focus on, to go to the next step.
Okay, awesome. So can you provide for some of the listeners some benefits that they could experience by utilizing your services in their homes or office spaces? What are some of the benefits? Because some folks, you know, I have to say that honestly, even myself, I haven't really thought about it that much. Not until, you know, meeting with you and discussing this with you, I really thought about how my office actually feels. I think about it a little bit, but not that much. So, and I'm curious, you know, and I'm quite sure that there's some type of deliverables that I'm not thinking of. You know, this is, I might be a little bit more left brain sometimes than I would like to think I am. But for those that may not be making that connection, what are some of the benefits that you can just kind of spit out to them as to why they might want to consider using a service like yours, if not yours?
Right. I would say it could give them clarity, peace of mind, relaxation. It can give them like a stronger relationship, you know, within their household with whoever, their loved ones. Or, you know, it could help them find that love of their life, you know, if they're not married, for example. You know, so there's definitely, benefits to everything I do. Again, as a holistic approach for your whole mind, body, space cleanse, I call it. Less stress, you know, just certain things like that. So I would say my best client would be someone that's kind of just stressed out, you know, worn out, just tired, and just trying to figure out what's going on, you know, because again, it's probably within their space.
Okay. So coming in for a closing here. So a question for you is this: do you have a special offer that you would like to give the listeners to the show today?
Well, I can give you a free consultation with any type of artwork, any size.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you heard that. We're gonna hold you to that. She has some phenomenal artwork, by the way, which actually is a couple pieces I'm really interested in myself. So hopefully I'll get to them before you guys do. But nevertheless, we're gonna make sure we put that out there and add that into the comment sections for the podcast and for the show. And the other question is, who should reach out to you to take advantage of your services? What's the ideal situation that a person would be perfect for to give you a call?
I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, ones that have their own business, because a lot of us that have our own business are stressed out and trying to figure things out, and like, oh, you know, if it's just not working for them is like they like, you know, that I would be perfect for them. You know, anyone that again is just stressed out, or even maybe stay-at-home moms, you know, the ones that are just batty with all their kids and they're just like, I need better, you know, some relaxation. I need to figure that out because, you know, I use different incense and different essential oils, and, you know, that's a whole other ball game. But, you know, different, things I could help them with to relax and kind of regain their energy. Moms, entrepreneurs, maybe like yoga studios, maybe like health studios, places like that. Definitely could use my services, I would think. And
I'm just curious, do you know by chance, like what, this may be a difficult question for you. If you don't have the answer, it's all good. But I'm just curious, like, do you know like the ROI, like the return on investment that some folks may be able to experience on this? Because I could definitely see where like productivity increasing, you know, more efficiency and time management when you feel more. But I'm curious, do you know if there's any ROI bottom line numbers that businesses can?
Sure. So in general, like for interior designers, well, let's say we're doing a kitchen remodel. I mean, there actually is a 90% return on investment for like a kitchen remodel, or let's say like an 80% return on investment for like roofs. Wow. For like what I do personally, I would say it's 100% return on investment for them, because what it is an investment in themselves.
Right.
You know, and really helping themselves get through whatever is kind of lacking in their life.
Right.
I mean, that's where the whole Feng Shui comes into play, where they could get more balance.
Right.
Balance in their life is so important.
Right. Now, I can say this much. I can say this from my personal experience with putting some time and energy into, like I said before, I hadn't really thought about it much, but that's probably not really true, especially because of what I do. I actually have put probably more thought into it than a lot of folks probably do, because when I'm doing this show, my background and all this other stuff, it actually matters. Like I've literally had to think through my background, and because I come from the entertainment industry, I actually understand a lot of the psychological implications of what your background looks like, even on webcam. So, you know, I personally put a lot of energy into trying to create a certain type of feel myself. So I can say this, folks, for anybody who is like on the fence and like trying to determine whether that this is something you should invest in, I can say hands down, if you spend anywhere near as much time as like someone like me spends in their office, and I probably spend at least a good 40, 50 to 60 hours or more in my office every week, if not, could even be more than that.
Sure.
It does matter because you drive yourself crazy, and I can say that the clutter does really help with my mindset. It does help a lot with, you know, what I feel, but also how well and how long I'm able to concentrate and focus. I've noticed it matters. My lighting matters, not just for the camera, but it matters for me and my focus, because I have ADHD. So I use my lighting to help me to focus. I've got a really big bright light that my wife hates. She doesn't like to come in here because it's too bright for her. But for me, I use that light when I need to pick up my energy and get something done. Sure. Because this light will actually almost put me to sleep.
I was gonna say, you have intimate light right now. It's a really nice setting.
Yeah, I have, like, you know, I'm using warm lighting. I always use warm lighting because of my complexion, for when I'm shooting webcam stuff. But when I have to do work, I've got like these big LEDs in here, and it really helps with my energy. So, you know, I think what you start to become sensitive about these things when you spend a lot of time in your office. So I can definitely say, guys, this matters. If you want to increase your productivity, you want to increase your efficiency, you want to be able to work for longer periods of time without needing to stop, putting that time into your office and getting help, having Gina to reach out to you, it will probably change your game. Because when you like when you work, you know, it means different. It's completely different to like your workspace. So that's my little shameless plug there for Gina, because I think honestly what she's doing is phenomenal. Now, I know nothing about Feng Shui, so I might have to call on Gina for a little help myself, because I could always spruce up my energies. So with that said, that's why I love what she's doing, guys. So anyway, last question for you. How can the audience get in contact with you?
Sure. Give me a call or an email anytime. So my website has my phone number on there. Sorry if it's confusing.
What's your website address?
Is GinaMarieInteriors.com.
Okay. And that telephone number?
Well, the telephone number, and sorry if it's confusing, I'm from the East Coast, like I said, so it is a 617 number. But I figure this day and age, you know, everybody's from anywhere, that's right? True. So
that's true.
It doesn't matter. So it's a 617-953-4751.
Awesome. Well, that concludes. Oh, one more thing, guys. Gina's actually going to do a 10-minute educational presentation for us. The information for that will be attached to the bottom of this video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you listen to the podcast, it will be in the show notes. Okay? So definitely check out Gina's 10-minute little educational presentation that she has put together for you guys, and give her a call and use her services because she's awesome. All right. Well, guys, take care. God bless. This has been Mayo Best and Gina Marie Studios for the Blitz Business Development Show, and I will see you guys on the other side. Bye-bye.